Sranan Gold is about finding gold in Suriname.
We're at the early stages of a developing district, and we're getting very good results.
And here you can see the ore zone, which is part of that 17 meters at 10.5 grams per ton in hole 4, where you could really see the intrusion of the smoky quartz vein. So the more we poke into it, the more we map around it, the more we trench, it will unlock, what I think is an enormous hidden potential under the Randy's pit and beyond its extensions.
We help to make sure that the community gets some part of the benefits of our presence there.
I think at Tapanahony we have the potential to define a new gold district in Suriname.
Check out the landing page down below in the description, through which you can sign up for all future Sranan Gold updates and keep your finger on the pulse. Today we'll be taking you along for a behind the scenes look of our site visit to Sranan Gold's Tapanahony project in Suriname, which is a district scale high grade gold exploration project located on the banks of the Tapanahony River and close by the well-known Antino project owned by Founders Metals. We will be diving into the currently ongoing maiden 10,000 meter drilling campaign, the incredibly fast and untapped upside potential that this project offers, the company's social license within the region, and so much more. Let's start with an introduction from Oscar Louzada, the CEO of Sranan Gold.
Oscar, we just had an incredible trip to site here at Sranan Gold, but for a generalist investor watching, what is Sranan Gold all about?
Yeah, we had a good trip indeed. Sranan Gold is about finding gold in Suriname. As many of you might know, Suriname is most likely the most underexplored country in South America. Currently going through a huge boom in terms of explorers coming over. There are currently 4 juniors working on their projects. We've got 29,000 hectares in sort of midway Suriname, in the same corner where Founders is, Miata is. So there's 3 of us exploring there. We started our drilling campaign a bit over a month ago. We're making very good progress in our campaign at Randy's, and we'll very soon be moving to the other side of the river at Poeketi.
Of course, very exciting targets that you have here, Poeketi, Randy's, and we'll be talking plenty about that in this video. However, currently Sranan Gold's about a 25 to 30 million Canadian dollar market cap company. You referenced some peers just now. Founders Metals, of course, significantly higher market caps.
Yeah, we're at the start of this whole process. As mentioned before, started drilling a bit over a month ago. We will hopefully entertain the market in the next 3 to 6 months with exciting drill results on Randy, Poeketi, but also the extension of Poeketi, which we've started to work on earlier this week actually.
Now that we're all up to speed on Sranan Gold, let's chat with Dennis LaPoint, who will outline the incredible long-term potential of this asset. Dennis, what's the long-term potential of Sranan Gold?
Sranan Gold, the potential is really great. We have a great project. We're at the early stages of a developing district. I think looking around and seeing our plans, seeing our activities, this reminds me of many of my previous exploration programs, and we're getting very good results. We have both the Randy that we're drilling right now. We have the extension of this, and then we still have the rest of the concessions that we still see lots of potential. And so I think we see a long-term vision for the Tapanahony project for Sranan Gold.
As Dennis outlined, Sranan Gold has 2 high priority targets on its project, Poeketi and Randy's pit. Next up, let's go to Rayiez over at Randy's pit, who will outline why this region is such a great first target within the company's fast claim boundaries.
Rayiez, we're on an incredible site visit of Sranan Gold's project in Suriname, the Tapanahony project. Yeah. And we're at Randy's pit.
This is Randy's pit. Yeah.
What is this all about?
This is an artisanal mining pit. It's 150 meters long, a long strike, almost 30 to 40 meters deep. And we see multiple benches, a little bit badly done benches, but some extensive saprolite mining that had been ongoing here pre-2020. And just the mere size of it, the extent of it, especially standing here looking at it in person, gives you a different perspective of the extent of the mining that has occurred here. And this is within the saprolite, the upper parts of the saprolite, deep into the saprolite. And I think the only reason that they stopped was not a lack of gold, but ill-used mining methods. The depth got to them, the safety, and also water. And within this structure, in the beginning when Sranan Gold started, is where we got our first structural measurements from. where we got to understand the geology of what might be happening in some of the small parts that were left, some of the exposures that were left. That has helped us orient our drill direction.
Yeah, and what's incredible, we'll go to a drill site in just a second. We're actually exploring, of course, around this pit, and we're gonna talk about that later as well. Gonna explore underneath and past it as well.
Yes.
The saprolite is incredibly thick. I hadn't expected this from the images that we've seen before.
Yeah.
How thick this saprolite actually is.
You know, in the Randy's Pit area, the saprolite can be anywhere from 40 all the way to 60 meters. And we can see that the artisanal miners have nibbled away at half of that, between 20 and 30 meters of mining that we see here that had been ongoing in the past at an incredible scale. And, you know, the only reason that they stop is because of their mining methods.
Yeah.
And now we see that there's also some shafts being dug where some of these miners try to go underground and, you know, go after these narrow or high-grade veins.
Well understood.
Yeah.
And of course your drilling pad's over there. Perhaps you can orient us for a second. Where are we?
Yeah.
Where's the drilling pad, and where do you think this system might be going?
So yeah, right now we're in the Randy's Pit, which is a northwest striking open pit in the saprolite. The drill pads are right now between the 50 and 100 meters north of Randy's. We had some good intercepts like hole 4. We're a bit north of that. So right now we will drill a little bit more north and come back and start drilling Randy's Pit towards the south. But we're slowly unlocking something that was, you know, initially a 150 meter long northwest striking pit, into something that's longer, you know, growing it into 400, 500, 600 meter territory. And then we still to the south of Randy's, beyond that wall, within the gullies, we have the trenches that we did earlier in the year. So we're working at both ends with the drill and with trenches to expand the mineralization that we know of.
And that expansion is of course going very rapidly as well, because like you outlined, this started like a 150 meter, 200 meter type pit, and now it's approaching slowly a kilometer, isn't it?
Yes, the more we do exploration, the more we unlock what is known. And the potential has always been speculated to be there. Now that we have drill holes, we are pinpointing facts. We have assay results, and we also have evidence of mineralization deep into bedrock. So we understand it better. We have oriented core that helps us guide the drilling a bit better. We have surface mapping from the trenches, and just looking at the structure really in a really practical but really detailed manner helps us to grow this. And I think what we're seeing here is that the extent of what is known is just biased by the amount of exploration data that exists. So the more we poke into it, the more we map around it, the more we trench, it will unlock, you know, what I think is an enormous hidden potential under the Randy's Pit and beyond its extensions.
Enormous hidden potential sounds very exciting. Of course, like you outlined, you're currently drilling in the north, you're slowly moving towards Randy's and then going southwards.
Yeah.
What is interesting to me that you outlined earlier, there's no reason to believe that's going to be the best spot, hole 4, that you found thus far.
No, along the structure, yeah. You can imagine you're always biased by you know, where's logistically more easy, and also about what's exposed to date. And you know, this is part of a bigger structure that we associate to the Poeketi, which is north of the river, a 4 or 5 kilometers, you know, known mining trend. But that again is also biased by the fact that it's close to the rivers. That's where small-scale miners have been, but it's part of a bigger structure that goes across the property, which is in the order of 10 to 12 kilometers. And we don't know because we haven't poked around in that zone, right? So we're just biased by what's closer, proximal to the river.
As mentioned earlier, Sranan Gold has already released the initial results of this maiden 10,000 meter drilling campaign, which includes some truly high-grade intercepts. Let's go back to Rayiez at the core shack, who will explain what these initial results teach us potential investors, as well as the operational team on site about the mineralized system at the Tapanahony project.
So what we see here is the zone proximal to the mineralized zone in hole 4 that graded really well. And what really is striking in this zone is the ground preparation within the basalts, where you have early veins that have been transposed and overprinted by later quartz calcite veins. And you know, this is getting close up to mineralization, but this shows you
So sorry to jump in real quick. This is all not mineralized rock, but this is where the zoning goes from normal basalt,
yes,
towards the intrusion, which is your mineralization, right?
Yeah, not really the intrusion, the shear.
Shear, apologies.
Yeah. So you have the shear zone or the damage zone where you have the veining and the mineralized fabric, and this is proximal to it. But what we can see here, what's really interesting is the ground preparation of veining and deformation within the basalts. That tells us that it's a series of you have a complex deformation history that comes into play before these rocks are mineralized. And here you can see the ore zone, which is part of that 17 meters at 10.5 grams per ton in hole 4, where you could really see myelinite development, strong silica and sericite alteration in the basalts, and the intrusion of the smoky quartz vein that is a brittle phase within this shear zone. And
the smoky quartz vein is really the high-grade mineralization that you've seen in hole 4, right?
We have seen that it is spatially associated to the high-grade mineralization. You can see some free gold in here, in that shear plane, and this is a really good example of the ore zone that we're looking at here at Tapanahony. This is the 15 meter at 1.2 grams per ton mineralization in the hanging wall of hole 4, and you can really see the contrast here between your unmineralized basalts with some early transposed veins within the deformation history, and the myelinite development, the alteration, and also the deformation of thin mineralized quartz veins. And you can also, what's visible is the sulfides that are associated to the mineralization, and the color change really shows not only the structural complexity, but also the change in mineralogy.
Next up, let's chat with Kelly, who's a drill contractor for Sranan Gold with a rich history in Suriname.
Kelly, who are you and what do you do for Sranan Gold?
So I'm the drill contractor, the consultant, more or less is what I am. To come down, what I do is as we come down and we hire locals. I bring the 2 drills that they want to purchase. We hire the locals, which I had a team before here from the time before the founders. So we had the same team, which was nice because there was less training this time to get it rolling. And so it was faster, more efficient right off the bat. So a little more sleep this round ago, and it was a lot nicer. So things have moved at a good pace so far. Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, you referenced something really interesting there. You've of course worked in Suriname before with the founders team.
Yeah, exactly. I was here in 2023 for founders. Started their first 8 months to a year, I guess. We had 20,000 meters drilled in the time I was here. And then not just the drill guys, most of the camp guys here too have come back from Antino. They all wanted to come back and work with us as one team again. So yeah, it was nice to see them all back.
Yeah, and we spoke a lot the last couple of days about what you are doing differently compared to normal drill teams. Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, I think with me, I go more in depth with the guys. I train them identical to how we train in North America. So they get the same training, which they haven't had in the whole time they've ever been trained how to drill here. So by doing that, you teach them how to fix their own problems, how to maintain the drill properly, how to see the problems faster, so we have less downtime. So and it teaches them. I mean, they're the same as we are, so they should know the same thing. Is the most important part, I think.
Awesome. And how's the drilling going currently?
Good. I think we're on right now. We're about a 90 to 100 meter average per day right now, and things are picking up faster and faster. Every hole, the boys get better at it. So yeah, I mean, we'll see some pretty good shifts coming out of here pretty quick.
Yeah, because how many meters a day you drill is really important for the cost of per day, right? Because
yeah,
the set costs are the same.
Exactly, yeah. So everything's on a day rate. So the only thing that you can manipulate the cost of an exploration program is the footage of the drills. So the more footage you pump out in a day, I mean, this being like a good product, not doing the bad job, but doing a good job safely and at a high speed, all at the same time. Is where you
awesome. You're currently operating 1 drill. Hopefully, at some point, you're going to be incorporating a second one.
We're actually just in process that. You can't see it behind us, but it's going to be built here in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, we're just getting everything ready to go.
Awesome.
As Kelly mentioned, the crew operating the drills for Sranan Gold consists of locals, and we managed to chat with a few of them right after a successful shift.
Hi gents, you guys just came back from the shift. How did it go today?
We do it fine.
How many meters did you do today?
Today 42 meter.
And the progress on the drilling, how many meters have you completed thus far?
Ja, 2000, maybe 2000.
Ik vind het werk gewoon prima. De night was goed. En vandaag hebben we 42 meter gemaakt.
Natuurlijk vanochtend heel vroeg begonnen. Hoe was dat?
Oh ja, 6 uur. Dus we werken per dag 12 uur. En laten we zo doorgaan. Sranan Gold is de best. Ja.
Very good.
When we were on site, the company was already working on hole 11 of their initial 10,000 meter drilling campaign. Let's go back to Rayiez at the drill site to talk drilling progress and lessons learned.
Reese, we're here at the drill rig. What's
Yes.
going on?
Right now, Stan, we're drilling hole 11, and the drillers just reduced the hole. Reducing means we are at, what I have in my hand here is a HQ size 4. And
HQ meaning larger size,
larger
right?
diameter. Yeah. Once the rock is stable, we reduce to what's called the NQ, which is a smaller core size. It has better penetration speeds for drilling. It's also, industry standard practice nowadays. But what we're seeing right now in hole 5, around 50, 60 meters, is we're picking up some alteration and some structure. I have some core in my hand here that where I'm seeing, initial fabric is being sheared, and I can see the transition from the background chloritic basalts, and I see sericites starting to develop and some silica coming in. So it's close. We're not at the right zone yet, but you see indications. And from what we've looked at yesterday in the core shack, where you start seeing increasing deformation, or the transposed early veins are getting even worsely deformed, that's your indication that you're getting close to a zone. So it's clues like that that we've kind of picked up or understood from the deposit. And when you come and do a drill visit, the geologist needs to recognize these things, especially when we're nearing the end of a hole. You need to be able to understand the geology and the sequence of what's happening. Within the geology in the section, so we don't, for example, terminate a hole too soon, right? So that understanding has to happen while the hole is being drilled all the time.
Understood.
Yeah.
And of course, these visual confirmations are telling you, like you outlined earlier, that you're going into the zone that you're actually looking for. You might be going into the zone.
Yeah.
This is not it just yet.
Not yet, no.
Exactly.
Yeah, close, but very close. Yeah.
Really interesting that you're able to get these visual cues,
Yeah.
because you already have that data from your previous holes.
Yes.
And you can start putting these things together and transition on the spot to,
Yeah.
continue the hole
Or what might happen next because of some visual clues, some evidence of shearing. Maybe the next drill hole that's supposed to be drilled can be adjusted or can be moved a bit back because we want to hit something on a deeper elevation level with the next hole.
incredible.
Yeah.
On the spot transitioning rather than having to wait on the assays.
To come back, yeah.
Which is a multi-week process, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Way
two
quicker
weeks.
feedback. Awesome.
Remember how at the start we mentioned that Sranan Gold has 2 high priority targets, Randy's Pit and Poeketi. Well, thus far in the video we've only really been talking about Randy's Pit south of the Tapanahony River. On the north side of the river lays Poeketi, which holds some incredible upside potential for the company as well.
Reese, we're now of course at Poeketi. Can you explain the importance of this place for Sranan Gold?
Yeah. Hi, Stan. Yeah, we're at the middle of the Poeketi pits. This is the area where we have mapped and sampled some high-grade grab samples around May of this year. And again, we're standing in the northwest, within the northwest shear corridor. In the Poeketi pits, it's a little bit different. The shear fabric is oriented a bit more west-northwest, dipping towards the west. And, we continuously see high pockets of really high-grade gold mineralization here. The variation is similar to Randy's, horizontally as well as vertically. The way the mining is ongoing right now with the tunnels shows that the structure pinches and swells. But it's part of a 1 kilometer long surface expression of gold mineralization. And as you can see from the wall to the west, the saprolite cover, is not and has not been very thick at all. It was just really shallow, and it's been mined. The depth in the pits is anywhere between 10 to 20 meters deep. That mining was done in 2020, 21, when you had the gold rush here. And after that, people continuously mine this by using other methods such as tunnels nowadays. And we even now in the north, from our recent grab samples, 25 and 26 grams per ton, there's new tunnels being made. And the system, we know, continues to the northwest. It's open. And we will, go over there and look at some more outcrops or look at some more small-scale mining pits for evidence. And also try to map and understand what's happening in the extensions and continue to expand on the Poeketi trend.
And Rayiez, you're quite excited to start drilling this. Perhaps you can explain why specifically here,
Yeah.
and also what is the plan to start drilling this?
Yeah, I think we will start drilling this. We will focus on the areas where we have sampled or where we have our best grab samples from. And right now we're looking into the western wall. So as you can see that western wall, there's stable ground on that west side where the drilling will start, because as I said before, the structure is west northwest. So we most likely will be drilling this towards the northeast, and camp is very close by. It's a few hundred meters walk. It's a 5-minute, 10-minute walk. So it'll be easier logistically for the drill crew, for core transportation. It'll be less strain on the bikes, less fuel consumption. So Poeketi is really going to be an exciting stage for Sranan Gold.
Definitely, and just a couple meters from here, you've actually found a grab sample over 100 grams a ton.
Yeah.
This is a high priority target for you guys.
Yeah. So we've sampled. We have 100, and over there we had 80 grams per ton grab sample in the past. We have some channel samples which are above 1 grams per ton, and we continuously find and poke around the area to see if there's anything else that we don't understand or we've left behind. But we're ready to drill this. We're standing at the new pit. We see the shear has come through and has been mined in the past by these artisanal miners, and you can see that the extent of mining is also quite deep. From the original surface, we're talking about 10-15 meters, well into transitional rock. We've sampled in and around this pit and picked up 2 good grab samples of the sheared fabric, which graded 3 grams per ton. There were some floats lying around, some old stockpile, which also ran 1 gram per ton of the same smoky, hazy quartz vein. We see a very complex geology here of basalts intruded by these felsic intrusives. But you can see that the way they've mined, they kind of show you the planar nature of the shear fabric and how it can, dip away from one area to the other. In this particular wall, we can see that the shear fabric is dipping to the west, which is consistent with the dip direction that we've seen in Randy's pit and also further north at the Poeketi's pit.
Incredibly interesting that these visuals are able to tell you directional information. And now, of course, now that you're drilling and you have some directional core as well,
Yeah.
you can really start putting these pieces together and try to predict where the ore body, or well, at least the mineralization, it's not ore body just yet, but the
Yeah.
mineralization could be.
Yes, and imagine this is a big gaping hole here, and people did not do this for fun. There is gold, there is gold mineralization here, and we need to get to it. And right now, this is at a phase where it needs a few drill holes poked into it to understand what's going on. And yeah, this is a 100-meter long pit. This is the southern end of it. And it's part of this trend at Poeketi, which at surface, from mining such as this, and also from some of our sampling, is part of a almost 1,000-meter surface expression of mineralization. Yeah, and to me, it's one of our great targets that we need to investigate.
Yeah, incredibly interesting. Of course, the best place to look for a mine is next to one. Perhaps in Suriname, the best place to look for one is underneath another one.
Underneath, yeah, they haven't got that deep. Also to note, if you look at up there, the saprolite is in some areas just 4 meters deep. It can go up to 10, 15 here, which is different from Randy's, where it's between 40 and 60 meter. Because we're still close to the Tapanahony River. We're sitting in one of the floodplains, so there's a lot of erosion. So you get to rock quicker. There's less saprolite development. And I guess this is why this was sticking out of the ground and was found by the miners and mined.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the mineralization stops.
No, definitely. And of course, like you outlined earlier, in that direction where you're currently standing, saprolite increases in thicknesses again.
So you have zones where, especially in the far north, after the most northern adit, the tunnels that we've sampled recently, saprolite starts to get thick again. You see a more developed saprolitic profile further away from the river. And if mineralization continues, which we believe it does, again you will have mineralized zones developed within saprolite, which is a cheaper medium to mine. Now we're in the northern part of the Poeketi pits, which is As you see, as we are more distally from the river terrace, we see a thicker saprolite development. Recently, we had some grab samples of 25 and 26 grams per ton, which came from this new adit here to the north. As you can see, 50 to 100 meter wide open pit that had been mined in the past. We can also see the tailings here that, came out of all the processing that happened here. And mind you, the way the sluice box setup works in small scale mining, the efficiency is 40% max. So these tailings could be, mineralized. Same shear fabric is going through here. We can see some nice, younger folded intrusive dikes in the walls. So really complex system with, the intensity of deformation that we need for mineralization. And of course, towards the northwest, this structure is still open. Whatever we see here is just biased by the mining that happened here, their ability to mine it, but geology and nature doesn't end like that really sharp. So our Poeketi Northwest targets, they lie in that direction, and it's open for almost 4 to 5 kilometers.
Absolutely incredible. And I just want to take it back to the tailings for just a second, because something we haven't spoken about at all.
Yeah.
You could potentially reprocess this in the future.
It is a possibility because it's already a form of concentration. How thick it is, what the extent is, has not been studied yet at all. But of course, and in many mining camps, it is known that people reprocess these tailings all the time.
Yeah, incredible upside. And Rayiez, you explained something about the different colors, the deep dark red that we see over there.
Yeah.
Why is that occurring?
Because we're progressing away from the Tapanahony River, and where we have the fresh rock close to surface has been likely an erosional terrace of the river, so less saprolite had the chance to develop. And as we go farther, we have rock that has been left undisturbed longer. So within this climate, you get a chance to develop a nice weathering profile. In a mining scenario, if the structure continues down in the saprolite, it is easier and cheaper mining of mineralized corridor, much like what we see in Randy's pit.
Next up, Rayiez is taking us to the office to show us some new maps that highlight the true district scale nature of the Tapanahony project.
Rayiez, please take us along. What are we looking at here on the map?
We are we're looking at the assays plotted on the drill traces. As you can see, this is hole 4.
The big hole that we saw in the news release, 250 gram meters almost.
Yeah. And we've started to drill some more holes towards the south.
And the yellow outlines, that's Randy's pit?
The yellow outline is Randy's pit, and we are right now 70 to 100 meters north of the northern edge of Randy's, 100 meters, and we will drill a few holes to the north and then come back and close the gap and drill towards the Randy's pit. And where we are drilling now is approximately 700 meters towards the trenches that we did earlier in this year, where we had 5 meters at 36 grams per ton. Just to show the possible strike extent of the Randy's target. And we haven't even worked our way to the north yet, which is an additional 550 meters.
It's incredible. Just Randy's, like you outlined, could be a 1.2 kilometer strike length target.
What I wanted to put your attention towards is the fact that Randy's itself in the beginning was a 150 meter long northwest pit, but due to the mapping, the trenching in the south, the drilling north of Randy's, and also some upcoming trenching and mapping towards the north, we're unlocking it to something in the strike length of 1,300 meters in the first go. And it just shows that the more work or the more holes you put into the place, the more you kind of reveal what's down there. I think it gives an idea of what can be discovered yet, but it's just a matter of volume of work put into the ground.
That's incredible. And we had a chat earlier today off camera where you explained to us that underneath Randy's might actually not be the most interesting area for you. Do you think on the other side of Randy's could be the most interesting side to put some holes into?
Yep. I mean, we're being smart about it because it's a complex structural corridor. Our ore body or high grade lenses might dip one way or the other. So on different drill paths, we are doing a variation of inclinations to ensure we hit the target, but also understand the possibility of the complicated nature of the grade distribution within the corridor. So I'm not saying we won't see anything under the Randy's pit, but we're aware of the complexities that we need to take into account. And if we don't intercept something of a very high grade intercept, that we will change our drilling strategy or inclination or direction even. So that's the message with that.
Yeah, well understood. And we had an interesting visualization today of speaking about this ore body in parallels in country. Um, the shear zone with high grade lenses that are dipping at different directions. Could you share that as well?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at even the Randy Poeketi trend, there is a northwest corridor where there is gold, by historical data or by people actively mining. But the structural complexity within this corridor is something that we continue to unravel, but it's also not the same everywhere. And within the shear fabric, the grade distribution is a function of many complex deformation events, and we are trying to unravel those so we can understand the geometry of these bodies, or we can also understand where we would find the higher grade pockets. And that's a continuous effort. And for now, and now we're trying to understand how these movements have taken place, trying to reconstruct the events, and that influences the distribution of the higher grade and the orientation of the higher pockets within the ore body.
Yeah, and of course, we did a clip at the ore shack. There's a lot of visual cues that you have within this core to try to determine where these high grade lenses, as you outlined, might be. What I find striking on this image that you've pulled up now, of course, we spoke about a 4.5 kilometer strike length thus far. That's not the full extent of what this system, this district scale system, could potentially be.
No, I think at Tapanahony we have the potential to define a new gold district in country in Suriname, and as you can see, we can from Randy's all the way to the south of the concession. That's 12 kilometers of strike length, and the same goes for the northwest of Poeketi. That's almost 5 kilometers of area that's open for investigation, but these areas will need some earlier exploration techniques to unlock their potential. But we are looking at a damage corridor within that northwestern direction, and it is supported by historical panning data. It is supported by what we see in the LiDAR and in the magnetics. So the ground condition or the geological framework exists for mineralization, and the potential to be unlocked it's enormous, and it's you can place quite a few mines in that corridor. Here we have the historical panning, which the colors, everything red to purple is gold grains in a pan, above 10, visual count. And we can see these polygons are basically watershed basins. So your drainage is basically sampling your surface, and it represents areas that are interesting to investigate. And what we see that there's a common and again northwest source line, which is the yellow line that I drew, where these anomalies might have their origin in. And you can see consistent northwest shape or orientation.
I guess something that's important to outline here with panning data, of course, you're looking at sediment that has moved over time.
Yes.
So that's the hard part with this data. You need to transplace it a bit, which is what you're trying to do here, but you're trying to find the source location.
Yes. Within the corridor. And this tells you where to zoom in. And then you would use other techniques, as soil sampling, or you do a trench, or you go and map and sample within that focused area to try to get closer to your source. But we see that the potential here, except and Poeketis, which are close to the Tapanahony River, is in the order of 10 to 12 kilometers. Open area, open for exploration, with high potential within the same northwest damage corridor, which is, the lithological concept is that it is hugging closely the contact with the big batholith to the west of the concession. And, this is a type of framework or fertile ground that you need. And we're seeing all the ingredients. We just need to do more exploration to unlock the potential.
Yeah, well understood. And of course, the spanning data, like you outlined, is definitely not the only thing. There's this fault zone that you're seeing at Rayiez and Poeketi.
Yeah.
There's good potential. It could run that entire 12-kilometer extra that you're outlining here to the south.
There could be splays, there could be parallels to it, but it is a wide damage corridor that basically is the framework for everything else that sits around it. We just need to generate more data, do more exploration, and unlock it.
Can we draw a parallel to other mines in this area?
I think the sequences of deformation and the corridor that we see are not, they're very similar to what we've seen at Antino. They're very similar to shared corridors that we've seen in areas such as Nassau, such as the Brothers Concession, even within the Roosevelt district in different rocks. But the whole south trend of Roosevelt, for example, is, shear strain that's intensified proximal to the contact with a batholith. That's the whole southern domain of Roosevelt. There is also the Skupasi concession, which has similar concept of geology and multiple episodes of deformation. And there's also a lot of projects in neighboring countries like Guyana and in French Guyana, where, because these are all part of the same belt, there might be regional or local variations or changes, and gold doesn't discriminate by rock types in orogenic settings. It's all about structure. I'm not saying structure is everything, but it's very important. So we can draw similarities to many concessions, many projects within the belt.
And talking scale, just to get a feel for how large this system could be potentially, if you were to compare it to some of the other ones in Suriname.
I think the scale potential we have here is 12 to 16 kilometers is your Roosevelt district, is your Marian district. We even see the one that's being mined by artisanal miners, the Sara Creek shear corridor, is within that order. Right now, with our competitors, the founder metals, we see the lava trend and the Antino Buese trend within the same multi-kilometer scale. So it's very similar to those.
And that multi-kilometer scale, well, most of it has truly been underexplored or even untouched. Well, at least thus far. Rayiez and I had the opportunity to take a short helicopter ride north of Poeketi, where Rayiez discovered some truly interesting grab samples. Let's take a look.
Stijn, we're right now, we've traveled with a helicopter almost 1 to 2 kilometers northwest of the Poeketi pits. And we're in an alluvial in a valley, and we can see some evidence of gold mining, abandoned camp. We see a lot of piles of tailing rocks, a lot of quartz boulders, which show signs of abrasion. So it tells you that whatever gold was mined here was transported. There's some excavations, there's some roads, and we can see some cobbles and remnants of saprolite. For example, down here we have a schist, a highly strained rock, which is evidence of deformation, and which is basically a good sign for us. And as we walk further, you see 2 of these big pits within the alluvial valley, where mining had been ongoing, which is your first indication of gold in the area.
What have you found now, Rayiez?
Yeah, we're walking on a little bit of a slope here, and the rain erodes away, and we're seeing some upper saprolite with transposed veins and a shared fabric, which is wonderful to see, because it shows you that there's quartz vein forming, there's hydrothermal fluids, gold has been mined nearby. So I'll just take a measurement and see if this is the same direction as the Poeketi trend.
So you're measuring the magnetic direction.
Yes, I'm measuring the dip direction of the shear fabric that we see in this outcrop, in this exposure. And I just measured the dip direction, which is 195. This is a northwest structure. So the strike of this is really northwest, which is the same trend as the Poeketi. We're also seeing evidence of strained quartz veins within the fabric.
Strained quartz veins. What does
Yeah.
this exactly mean?
These are quartz veins that were formed during or before the shear was induced on this lithology, on this rock. And you can see the deformation or the folding and the deformation within these quartz veins, which is a good sign because you don't only need to strain the rock, you need to move it to have fluids come through and mineralize. And this is a good sign, and this is somewhere where we take measurements, try to understand the geology and take samples, and try to extrapolate the geology from what is known, for example in this case at Poeketi, and bring it 1K or 2K further to the northwest. So another thing that's remarkable about the shear zone we're just mapping and sampling here today is that it's highly sheared, so it's rich in sericite. I think the protolith is a fine grained sediment.
Protolith?
The protolith, yeah, that's
Protolith.
the parent rock, and we're seeing these transposed veins that are basically folded within the fabric, and they are also of that smoky, hazy quartz nature. Is a good sign. So something like this, you would be crazy as a geologist to walk around and not map and sample it properly.
So smoky, hazy quartz is of course exactly what your mineralization is associated with in your drill core when you go deeper.
Yes, this is the case at Randy's. This is also the case of the quartz vein that we've measured at Poeketi from the underground workings. So it's similar. The direction is similar. The alteration within the saprolite. Something else that I'd like to notice is that you cannot appreciate the extent of something based on just one grab sample, but it is a start. And
Definitely.
it is, early recon and mapping such as this that we are doing right now is a precursor, something that you need to do in a proper way before you go ahead and put in an extensive sampling program, because you need to understand what you're chasing after. And in my experience, the small scale miners help to expose a lot of useful exposures just like this that we've seen here. So what we've now really confirmed is that there's not only transported gold mined in the valley, there's evidence, in the exposure that's created by them that there's a shear system going on somewhere here. And this will help us to focus our work and try to come back and maybe do some additional mapping and some additional sampling. But yeah, this is more than 1K northwest of Poeketi.
Of course, this entire exploration operation could not function without a solid logistical backing, which Anusjka will get us up to speed on now.
Anusjka, Logistics Manager of Sranan Gold, I would love for you to take us along really what goes into the logistics of this operation, this exploration operation.
So Sranan Gold, the logistics here is we have transport via plane and we have via the boats. So on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday we're going to the planes, the transports, and usually in the weekends we have a boat transport. But what happens with the boat is we are liable. We have to count on the weather and the water level, because when the water level is high, we can bring the transport through the rivers. But when the water level is low, we have to go through the plains. Our personnel goes through the plane, of course. Our supplies, food supplies, and those go through the planes. What happens is we get a list from the camp, and we get approval from our Dennis LaPoint and Oscar Louzada. And if those are approved, we get the funds for this, and then we have to purchase everything. And after that, the purchase it go on, we go through the plains, and then we're going to the camp, to Poeketi. And that's it. That's the logistics.
Thank you for taking us along there. And currently the camp is actually quite sophisticated. How many people are on site right now?
Approximately, we have a total of 45 people.
45 people. It's a serious operation.
Yeah, serious.
And what actually surprised me about Suriname is you have two very major mining corporations in country already. And you have quite a bit of logistical support network around that.
Yes, we can just buy everything here. Like, I mean, we have a whole Caterpillar company here. We have SCMC. So we can just rent or we can just buy everything. The biggest material, whatever, from boats to bulldozers to large trucks, what they just tell, when we're mining. So we have everything here, not just small companies, but also the bigger ones. So we have everything.
Rahul, we found you at the perfect time. Where are we and what are we doing here?
So right now we are at the airstrip of Dritabacha, doing the crew change. So part of the team is going to Paramaribo, and I'm coming in for my shift.
Awesome. And you're of course a young geologist. What are you doing for the project and why Sranan Gold?
Relative young. I'm a senior geologist. I've worked for the past decades for Newmont, the biggest mining company in the world. And I like this challenge because it brings me back to the roots, brings me back to start of exploration, the fun, and I want to be part of the success of this project. And I do believe that this project will be a success, and I'm ready for the fun.
Earlier on in this video, I had promised to discuss Sranan Gold's social license to operate within the Tapanahony region. Let's talk with Johannes and Marijke, who do that crucial groundwork for the company.
We're here with Johannes, Abilie, and I would love for you to take us along really the social license. Very important nowadays, ESG, environmental social governance. How is Sranan Gold working on its social license locally?
Well, recently they have contracted myself and another colleague to assist with the social license. There are quite some activities that you need to conduct as a company in order to get a good social license, because it's not a formal thing and it's difficult to quantify, but the social license is the level of acceptance that you get from the local communities around the area where you are working. And there are several ways to do that. The first and most important one is engagement. You have to talk to people, you have to see how they think, to listen to their needs, to listen to their griefs, what they think about the project, and therefore you also need to present the specific parts of the project that will impact their livelihood or their movements and so on. So that's basically what we do, and we help to make sure that the community gets some part of the benefits of our presence there.
Perfect, thank you for that overview. And something that I hadn't even realized, there's so many local languages and cultures in this country. Incredibly hard to navigate, isn't it?
It is hard, especially for foreigners. And that is one of the parts where we come in as locals. Of course, we are from Suriname, but for example, myself, I am from that area, so I understand the people, I know their needs, and that helped to bridge the difference in not only language, but also culture. What are the things that the company should avoid? What are the things that we can present to them? What are the things that we absolutely cannot do? As a foreigner, even if you've been here for a while, it's difficult to know these, the nitty-gritty, the smaller things within the culture. And that's where we come in, and we advise and we talk to the people. And sometimes, because I live in Parbo, in the capital, sometimes I don't know all the stuff myself, but in our engagement, and that's why I said engagement is very important. In our engagement with the people, we get to know these stuff, and we can transfer them to the company, and then they know what they can do and what they cannot do. And these are very important in sustainability these days.
Talking social license with Marijke, and you're very busy with intergovernment relations as well as the traditional authorities at the village that you're operating at. Could you take us along how that goes for you?
Well, it goes very well. To maintain your social license to operate, you definitely have to make sure that you work on the relationship with the community. But then you have different stakeholders. The traditional authority is a very important one. But then you also have other stakeholders group within the communities like the women. We also have been working together with the school, the local school, so with the kids. But then, of course, you also have in the whole relationship, you have the extended relationship with the government as well. So up till now, we have been having a good relationship, good engagement with the traditional authority. Also, on several cases, several moments, we've also talked with the government. And we have also done some donations to help to support the communities.
Could you also take us along why trust is so important in this exploration stage, especially if you want to develop this project further and eventually go into a mining stage later on?
It's very important to gain the trust of your stakeholders. And what we see right now is that we do have a good basic, a very solid basic for this trust in building the relationship with the community. Because if there's anything, the traditional authority or even community members will find their way to us. If there's something that they want to discuss, they will request for a meeting, and then we will have a moment, you know, to sit and discuss that. So it's very important, but I see that in this case, there's a very good basis set right now.
Johannes, what is the importance of FPIC?
Well, FPIC is an international engagement standards, and it's nowadays crucial in mining, but in all industries.
Sorry to cut you off. FPIC, what does it stand for?
Oh, FPIC stands for Free, Prior, and Informed Consent. So it means that the actor, the person, or the company that is gonna make some action that will be impactful in the society has to have a good conversation with the locals so they are aware of what it is, what will be the implications for them, how can they eventually be mitigated, and so on. So these are very important points in the idea of FPIC. It's also being used to to check the quality of a plan, or let's say, for example, the quality of a financial proposal, and so on.
And of course, you know, we are incredibly close to Poeketi here, so it's crucial, but it's also a true value add from a risk perspective for a company to employ these standards, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I mean, apart from powerful institutes like government institutes, international standard organizations, it's also important for the locals, because if they don't know who you are, they don't know what you are doing, and you don't inform them up front, they will be, how do you say, surprised by what you're doing. And because you haven't done that, the impact will surprise them. And most of the time, communities get offended, and they are surprised, and they form a stand against the institute or the company. And this is a very big potential showstopper. So also from a social risk perspective, it's very important to apply the FPIC principle.
And to try to make it a bit more concrete, what steps are you currently taking to really try to ensure you have great communications with the locals here?
So we're executing a drilling program, and many of the activities do not impact the locals, but nevertheless, we still inform them about it. But we also have some holes projected close to, relatively close to where they live, or where they have other activities. So what we do is we show them up front, we explain exactly to them where the holes are, what will we be doing, and for how long will we be there. And if there is impact on their day-to-day life, we explain to them how the impact will be, and what are we doing as a company to mitigate the impact.
If this site visit documentary was able to spike your interest in Sranan Gold, there's a landing page down below in the description through which you can sign up for all future updates from Sranan Gold and keep your finger on the pulse.